I'm going to share with you one of the biggest mistake. Okay, maybe the biggest mistake that I can see developer making on their resume. I made this mistake too when I was starting out, and I want to help you avoid it. But don't worry if you have already made it. I will show you how you can fix it. So whether you're applying for your first job as a developer or looking for next level promotion or just preparing for interviews, you are in the right place. Hey everyone, I am Rajiv Behra and I have worked with United Nations, NHS, CGI, and even got offers from many other companies like IBM and top fintech companies. Also, I help developers to build better career. So let's dive in. When you want your first break and are sending out your resume, it is common to list every programming language, framework, and tool you have ever worked with. This is exactly what I did at first. Back then, I wanted to show my potential employer everything I knew, like C, C++, ASP, PHP, HTML, CSS database, and even every single thing I put on my resume. And the list just kept growing. But here's the problem. Your potential employer don't just care what you know. They care about what you have done with it. Let me repeat it again. Your potential employer doesn't just care about what you know. They care about what you have done with it. I didn't know it back then, but my biggest mistake and the mistakes many developers still making is spending too much time learning skills instead of showing real results and how they solve problems. I thought that just listing my skills would be enough, but that's not what makes a developer stand out. Potential employers are not just hiring someone who know Python or React. They are hiring someone who can use those skills to solve real problems. And I will show you exactly how you can fix these problems. But before that, let me show you how this mistake caused some real challenges for me. Here is how this mistake impacted my job search. No proof of experience. My resume was filled with skills like JavaScript, ASP, C Sharp, SQL, but I was not showing how I used them in the real project. And potential employers had no way to know if I actually built something meaningful or just completed tutorials. Weak or no portfolio links. I did not include my GitHub portfolio or open source contributions. Without proof, my resume looked like just a normal resume. No impact matrices. Also, when I built something, I had things like build a web app, but I never explained what I did or what impact it had. So instead of this, build a web app, I should have said this. Build a web app that reduced data processing time by 23%. Generic one size fits all resume. I sent the same resume to every job, thinking my skills alone would be enough. But I was not tailoring it to match what the job description was asking for. Bad formatting and readability issues. My resume was too long, had large block of text, and it was not skimmable. If a recruiter only spent 6 seconds scanning a resume, mine was not making the cut. I started feeling really frustrated because I knew I had the skills, but I was not getting interview calls. And this is where I started doubting myself. I kept thinking, why am I getting ignored? Am I not good enough? Then I started writing about my job search experience. And as I put my thoughts down, I began to see a pattern. I spent so much time learning coding skills, but I did not realize my resume was not actually telling a compelling story. I was not showing how I solved real problems, how I worked on actual projects, how I made an impact. I was just listing my skills, technologies that was not enough. Once I figured this out, I started making changes to my resume. I rewrote my experience to focus on impact. Instead of just saying develop a web app, I wrote develop a web app that increased customer engagement by 23%. I also added links to my GitHub and portfolio, making sure my best projects were well documented so hiring managers could see my work. I started tailoring my resume for each job, making sure I was using keywords from the job description so that I would not get filtered out by ATS software. And guess what? I started getting responses. If you are struggling with your resume, I highly recommend taking a step back and asking yourself, am I just listing skills or am I showing real impact? Can a hiring managers can actually see proof of my work? Is my resume easy to read and focused on results? If the answer is no, don't worry. It's easy to fix. Simply focus on real-world projects, problem solving, and measurable impact. Recently, I reviewed 3 resumes, and if you want to learn more, you can watch this video next, and I'm sure you will find it helpful. And thank you for watching.